Notre mission est de sécuriser l'avenir de l'humanité.
Welcome to Working to War. Today, we are taking a deep dive into a really fascinating stack of articles about the Warhammer 40,000 universe and, well, the hobby itself.
Yeah, it is a great batch of articles. We are specifically looking at how, medieval and modern France has left these massive hidden footprints all over the lore and the aesthetics.
Right, and whether you know the lore inside and out or you just diving into world building, it is incredible to see how real-world history secretly shapes this stuff.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, so let's unpack this, starting with the origin, right? Holy Terra or Earth?
Right, so before the Emperor actually unified humanity, Earth was basically ruled by these brutal techno-barbarians.
During the Age of Strife, right?
Yeah, the Age of Strife. And the articles highlight that the area we used to call France, well, it degraded into this savage territory they called Frank in the lore, or sometimes the broader Ethelgard.
Oh, wow, Ethelgard.
Yeah, and this ancient, corrupted European geography directly inspired the cultural aesthetics of the Imperium's most zealous defenders later on.
Which maps perfectly onto the Adepta Sororitas, right? The Sisters of Battle.
Exactly. The connections there are huge.
I mean, Saint Celestine is essentially a sci-fi Joan of Arc. She is this young woman with divine visions, leading armies, dying as a martyr, and then resurrecting. It's the exact same vibe.
It really is. And the articles also point out their primary symbol, the fleur-de-lis.
Oh, right. The classic French symbol.
Yeah, historically, that represents the French monarchy and Catholic history. But the lore takes that medieval religious fervor and it weaponizes it for the dark future.
That is so wild. Real quick before we move on to the modern historical parallels, just a reminder to please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It really helps us out.
Yes, definitely do that.
Okay, so while the Sisters of Battle have that medieval religious vibe going on, another faction captures France's darker modern history.
Right, which throws a lot of people off.
Because, wait, I mean the death corps of Krieg. With a name like Krieg and those spiked helmets, wouldn't you just assume they are entirely based on World War I Germany?
You would think so, but the articles clarify this huge misconception.
Yeah.
Their World War I aesthetic is actually a hybrid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it leans heavily French, so those long trench coats and the specific gas masks they wear, they actually mirror the French poilu uniform from 1914.
No way, I had no idea.
Yeah, and even their crested helmets are pulled directly from the French Adrian helmet.
That is crazy. So why give them a German name if they look so French?
Well, because their trench warfare style perfectly mirrors the grim reality of Verdun. The creators needed a faction that embodies the sheer horror and attrition of French warfare from that era.
Wow, that makes so much sense. And, from the muddy trenches, if we look up at the towering structures these soldiers are defending, the architecture is basically French Gothic, right?
Exactly. The articles explain that the defining grimdark style of Warhammer is deeply, deeply rooted in French High Gothic architecture.
Yeah, you see it everywhere. Like you have these flying buttresses holding up high cities exactly like Notre Dame.
Oh, totally.
And even on a spaceship, like a massive void ship will just have a giant rosette window plastered right on the hull.
Right, because it makes the citizen feel microscopic, just like those old cathedrals were designed to do. And this aesthetic even bleeds into how the Imperium speaks.
You mean High Gothic?
Yeah, High Gothic. So the lore presents it to us as Latin, basically.
Right, pseudo-Latin.
But the articles note that the actual text frequently borrows terms from French military history, and they use French aristocratic titles to describe Terra's imperial nobility.
Oh, so it gives off that vibe of a rotting, archaic aristocracy. That is so cool. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive today. I really hope you learned something new.
I just want to leave you with a final thought from the articles. In a universe set 38,000 years in the future, where all modern nations are entirely forgotten, why do you think these specific French echoes like medieval zealotry and World War I trench horrors survive so vividly as the ultimate symbols of humanity's grim, dark survival?
That is such a good question to think about. See you next time, everyone.